Tasha Brooks froze in the doorway of her tiny apartment, her keys still dangling from trembling fingers. A man sat on her worn brown couch. A stranger. Well-dressed in a gray suit, looking completely out of place among her thrift store furniture and peeling wallpaper. Her 5-year-old daughter, Brianna, sat beside him, chattering away like they were old friends. Brianna, Tasha's voice came out strangled, barely above a whisper. Come here. Now. The little girl looked up, her brown eyes wide and innocent. Mama. You're home. This is Mr. Julian. He helped me today and I invited him for dinner. Isn't that nice? Tasha's heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Her mind raced with every horrible news story she'd ever heard about children and strangers. Her grocery bags slipped from her hands, cans rolling across the floor. She stepped forward, positioning herself between the man and her daughter. Brianna, go to your room, Tasha said, her voice shaking despite trying to sound firm. The man stood slowly, raising his hands in a calming gesture. Mrs. Brooks, I apologize for the intrusion. Please let me explain. You have 30 seconds before I call the police, Tasha said, already reaching for her phone with fumbling fingers. Mama, no. Mr. Julian is good. He stayed with me when I was locked out. Brianna's small voice cracked with confusion and hurt. Tasha's blood turned to ice. Locked out? What do you mean locked out? Julian cleared his throat. I live 2 floors up. I was coming home from work when I found Brianna in the hallway crying. She said Mrs. Patterson fell asleep and locked the door. The little one couldn't get back in. Tasha's stomach dropped. Mrs. Patterson, her elderly neighbor who watched Brianna for free, sometimes dozed off with her hearing aid out. It had happened before, but Brianna always knocked loud enough to wake her. I knocked and knocked, Mama, Brianna said, tears forming in her eyes. But Miss Patterson didn't wake up. I got scared. Mr. Julian let me sit in the hallway with him until she woke up. He gave me crackers because my tummy was growling. Tasha felt her legs weaken. Her daughter had been alone in the hallway. Anything could have happened. She looked at the man, really looked at him for the first time. He appeared to be in his late 30s, with kind brown eyes and an expression of genuine concern. But that didn't mean anything. Monsters could look kind too. I stayed with her in the hallway for over an hour, Julian continued softly. I didn't touch her, didn't take her anywhere. Other neighbors passed by. They can confirm it. When Mrs. Patterson finally woke up and opened the door, Brianna insisted on inviting me to dinner as a thank you. She's very persistent. I wanted to say thank you properly, Mama. Like you taught me. You always say when someone helps us we should be grateful, Brianna said, her bottom lip trembling. Tasha closed her eyes. She did teach her that. Accept kindness with gratitude. Never be too proud to say thank you. But she'd also taught her daughter never to talk to strangers, and here they were. I should have said no, Julian said, his voice heavy with regret. I realize now how this looks. I lost my own daughter 5 years ago, and when Brianna smiled at me, I wasn't thinking clearly. I'm sorry. I'll leave right now. He moved toward the door, but something in his voice, the crack when he mentioned his daughter, made Tasha pause. She studied his face and saw genuine pain there, old grief that hadn't fully healed. Wait, Tasha heard herself say, surprising herself. You stayed with my daughter for an hour when she was scared and alone? Julian stopped, nodding. I couldn't leave her there by herself. I have a daughter, had a daughter. Sophia. She would have been 10 now. The raw honesty in his voice cut through Tasha's fear. She looked at Brianna, who was watching her with hopeful eyes. Then she looked at the grocery bags on the floor, the cans of cheap soup and pasta she'd bought for their dinner. It wasn't much, but it was something. Brianna, pick up those cans and take them to the kitchen, Tasha said quietly. Mr. Julian, if you still want to stay for dinner, you can. But we don't have much. Julian's eyes widened. You don't have to do that. My daughter invited you. She wanted to say thank you. I won't teach her to break her promises or to refuse to show gratitude when someone helps her, Tasha said, her voice steadier now. Besides, if you wanted to hurt us, you wouldn't have waited in the hallway with witnesses around. You would have done something already. It was a calculated risk, and every instinct in her body screamed to push him out the door and lock it. But Tasha had learned to trust her gut over the years, and right now, despite everything, her gut said this man was safe. I would be honored, Julian said softly. And please just call me Julian. Brianna squealed with delight and ran to hug her mother's legs. Thank you, Mama. I'll set the table real nice. As her daughter scampered to the kitchen, singing a made-up song about dinner guests, Tasha met Julian's gaze. I'm still watching you. One wrong move and you're out. Understood, Julian said with a slight smile that didn't quite reach his sad eyes. And for what it's worth, you're a good mother. Not many people would give a stranger a chance after walking in to find them with their child. Tasha bent to pick up the remaining groceries, her hands still shaking slightly. Not many strangers would stay with a scared little girl for an hour just to make sure she was safe. She carried the bags to the kitchen, her mind whirling. What was she doing? This could be the biggest mistake of her life. But as she looked at Brianna happily taking out their mismatched plates, Tasha remembered what her own grandmother used to say. Sometimes kindness comes in unexpected packages, and you have to be brave enough to accept it. The question was, could she really trust this man? Or was she putting her daughter in danger by letting him stay? Have you ever had to choose between fear and faith? Have you ever had to trust a stranger when everything in you said to run? Drop a comment below and let me know what you would have done in Tasha's situation. And if you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Because what Tasha doesn't know yet is that this dinner will change her life forever. The kitchen was barely big enough for 2 people, let alone 3. Tasha maneuvered around the cramped space, hyper-aware of Julian standing awkwardly near the doorway. Brianna had already set out their plates on the small folding table that served as their dining area, living room furniture, and homework desk all at once. Can I help with anything? Julian asked, his voice careful and respectful. Tasha paused while filling a pot with water. Every muscle in her body was still tense, ready to react if needed. But she'd made the decision to let him stay, and she needed to commit to it. You can sit down. Dinner won't be fancy. Just spaghetti. Spaghetti is my favorite, Brianna announced, bouncing in her chair. She'd put on her fancy dress, a bright green hand-me-down with a small stain on the collar that wouldn't come out no matter how many times Tasha scrubbed it. Julian sat down carefully, looking at the little girl with an expression that made Tasha's heart twist. It was tenderness mixed with deep sadness. She turned back to the stove, putting the water on to boil and opening a jar of cheap pasta sauce. So, Brianna tells me you're in kindergarten, Julian said, his tone gentle. Yes, I can read now. Mama taught me. Want to hear? Brianna didn't wait for an answer before running to get one of her picture books. While her daughter was in the other room, Tasha spoke without turning around. Tell me about Sophia. The silence stretched long enough that she thought he wouldn't answer. Then his voice came, soft and broken. She was 7. Car accident. Drunk driver ran a red light. My wife was driving. She survived. Sophia didn't. Our marriage didn't survive the grief. Tasha's hands stilled over the pot. She turned to face him, seeing tears in his eyes that he quickly wiped away. I'm sorry. It's been 5 years. Some days are better than others. Today when I saw Brianna in that hallway so small and scared, I couldn't walk away. I had to make sure she was safe. Before Tasha could respond, Brianna bounded back in with her book. She climbed onto the chair next to Julian and opened it proudly. This is The Giving Tree. It's sad but good. Julian listened as Brianna read, stumbling over some words but pushing through with determination. Tasha watched them while she cooked, her maternal instincts on high alert. But all she saw was a broken man finding a moment of peace with an innocent child who reminded him of what he'd lost. The spaghetti was ready quickly. Tasha drained the pasta, mixed it with sauce and brought it to the table. She'd made garlic bread too, using the last of her margarine and garlic powder on some day-old bread from the discount bakery. This smells wonderful, Julian said, and he sounded like he meant it. They ate in a surprisingly comfortable silence at first. Brianna chattered between bites about her day at school, the pictures she'd drawn, and the frog she'd seen on the playground. Julian asked questions and listened like every word mattered. Tasha found herself relaxing, just slightly. This wasn't how she'd imagined her evening going. After 2 double shifts at the diner where she waitressed, she'd planned to heat up soup, help Brianna with her letters and collapse into bed. Instead, she was hosting a dinner party with a stranger in a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. This is delicious, Julian said after a few bites. Really? Thank you for letting me stay. Mama is the best cooker in the world, Brianna declared loyally. Tasha felt heat rise to her cheeks. It's just spaghetti. Nothing special. Food tastes better when it's made with love, Julian said, looking at her directly. My mother used to say that. She was right. Something about the way he said it, simple and honest, made Tasha's throat tighten. When was the last time someone had complimented her cooking? When was the last time she'd sat at a table with another adult who wasn't rushing her out the door? So what do you do? Tasha asked, trying to fill the silence with something normal. You said you live upstairs? I do. I'm in business. Corporate management and investments, Julian said, keeping his answer vague. He took another bite of spaghetti, genuine appreciation on his face. That sounds fancy, Tasha said, immediately feeling inadequate in her stained waitress uniform that she hadn't had time to change out of. It's work like anything else. What about you? I waitress at Morrison's Diner. 2 jobs, actually. I clean offices at night 3 times a week too, Tasha said, lifting her chin slightly. She wasn't ashamed of honest work even if it barely covered rent and groceries. Julian nodded thoughtfully. That's hard work. I respect that. Mama works so much, Brianna piped up, her voice matter-of-fact but with a hint of sadness. Sometimes I miss her. Tasha's heart cracked a little. Baby, I know. But I'm doing it for us. So we can have a good life. I know, Mama. You're the best mama ever, Brianna said, reaching over to pat Tasha's hand with her small, sauce-covered one. Julian watched the exchange with that same look of pain and longing. You're lucky to have each other. They finished dinner while Brianna told a long, rambling story about a butterfly she'd chased during recess. Tasha cleared the plates, refusing Julian's offer to help. He was a guest, strange as that was. She brought out a small container of store-brand vanilla ice cream for dessert, scooping it into 3 bowls. It was a treat she'd bought with her tips, meant to last the week. But having a guest meant sharing what they had. Ice cream. Brianna cheered, diving into her bowl with enthusiasm. As they ate dessert, Julian looked around the small apartment. It was clean despite being old and worn. Tasha kept everything as nice as she could with what she had. But she saw it through his eyes and felt embarrassed by the cracks in the walls, the water-stained ceiling, the mismatched furniture. Thank you for this evening, Julian said when they'd finished. I didn't expect. I mean, I haven't felt this welcome anywhere in a long time. You helped my daughter. That means something, Tasha said simply. Julian stood, preparing to leave. Brianna hopped down from her chair and threw her arms around his legs in an impulsive hug. Thank you for being my friend today. Julian's face transformed, joy and sadness mixing together. He patted her head gently. Thank you for inviting me, Brianna. You're a special little girl. At the door he turned to Tasha. I know this was strange. All of it. But I'm grateful you trusted me enough to let me stay. If you ever need anything, I'm in apartment 512. Tasha nodded, still wary but less afraid than she'd been an hour ago. Good night, Julian. After he left, she locked the door and leaned against it, her heart racing. Had she just done something incredibly stupid or surprisingly right? Only time would tell. Brianna tugged on her shirt. I like Mr. Julian, Mama. He's nice. And he has sad eyes like you sometimes. Tasha knelt down and pulled her daughter into a tight hug. I have sad eyes? Sometimes. When you think I'm asleep. But it's okay, Mama. We have each other. Tasha held her daughter close, tears pricking her eyes. They did have each other. And for tonight, they'd also had kindness from an unexpected source. Maybe that was enough. 3 days passed before Tasha saw Julian again. She was coming home from her morning shift at the diner, exhausted and smelling like grease and coffee. Her feet ached, her back hurt, and she had exactly 4 hours before she needed to pick up Brianna from school and head to her night cleaning job. She was fumbling with her keys when she heard footsteps on the stairs. Julian appeared, dressed casually in jeans and a blue sweater, carrying 2 shopping bags. Tasha, he said, looking almost nervous. I'm glad I caught you. Do you have a minute? She wanted to say no. She wanted those 4 hours to sleep. But something in his expression made her pause. Sure. What's up? Could we talk inside? I have something for Brianna. Tasha's guard went up immediately. What kind of something? School supplies. And some books. I hope that's okay. I stopped by the school yesterday to drop off a donation, and I happened to mention Brianna. Her teacher said she could use some things. Tasha felt her face burn with humiliation. Of course Brianna's teacher would mention that. Miss Rodriguez was kind but practical, and she knew which students came from families that struggled. Tasha had been meaning to buy new crayons and notebooks, but the electricity bill had come first. You went to her school? Tasha's voice came out sharper than she intended. Julian stepped back, hands raised. I didn't mean to overstep. The donation was already planned. My company does it every quarter. I asked about Brianna while I was there. I'm sorry if that was wrong. Tasha closed her eyes, fighting the urge to cry from exhaustion and embarrassment. You didn't have to do that. I know, but I wanted to. Please let me give these to her. If you're not comfortable with it, I understand. But Brianna is a bright kid. She deserves to have what she needs. Every instinct in Tasha wanted to refuse. Pride had kept her going through the hardest times. But then she remembered her own rule, the one she'd taught Brianna. When someone offers kindness, accept it with gratitude. Don't let pride steal your blessings. She opened the door. Come in. Inside, Julian set the bags on the small table. Tasha looked inside and felt her throat tighten. Crayons, markers, colored pencils, notebooks with cartoon characters on them, a pencil case shaped like a cat, glue sticks, scissors, and a stack of picture books. Everything was bright and new. This is too much, Tasha whispered. It's not enough, Julian said gently. Tasha, I want to ask you something and I need you to really hear me. Can you sit down? She sat, suddenly nervous. Julian took the chair across from her, leaning forward with his hands clasped. I've been thinking about you and Brianna since dinner. I can't stop thinking about you actually. About how hard you work and how much you love your daughter. I want to help. We're managing, Tasha said automatically. I know you are. But you shouldn't have to just manage. You should be able to live. Really live. Julian took a deep breath. I run a company. Hayes Corporation. We have an opening for an administrative assistant in my office. The pay is $60,000 a year with benefits. Health insurance, dental, paid vacation. I want to offer you the job. Tasha stared at him, certain she'd misheard. $60,000? She made barely $18,000 between both her jobs, working herself to exhaustion. That kind of money would change everything. Why? She managed to ask. Because you're clearly intelligent and hardworking. Because I believe you'd be good at it. And because I want to help. You don't even know me. I know enough. You're raising a wonderful daughter on your own. You worked 2 jobs. You taught your child to show gratitude and kindness. You let a stranger into your home because your daughter asked you to, even though you were terrified. That tells me everything I need to know about your character. Tasha shook her head, overwhelmed. This is crazy. You can't just offer someone a job like that. I own the company. And I need someone I can trust in my office. Someone real and honest. I'm tired of people who only see dollar signs when they look at me. I don't understand. Why me? Julian's expression softened. Because when I sat at your table eating spaghetti, I felt human again for the first time in 5 years. Because Brianna hugged me goodbye like I mattered. Because you trusted me when you had every reason not to. That's rare, Tasha. Real kindness and trust are rare. Tasha felt tears building. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. What if I'm not good at it? I'll train you. We'll work through it together. And if it doesn't work out, you'll still have your other jobs to fall back on. But I think you'll be great. Why are you really doing this? Tasha asked, needing to understand. Julian was quiet for a moment. Because I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and none of it brought my daughter back. None of it filled the hole in my life. But sitting at your table, seeing Brianna smile, helping you, that meant something. I want to keep feeling that. Tasha wiped her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Let me help. Please. Everything in Tasha wanted to refuse out of pride and fear. This was too good to be true. But then she thought about Brianna. About being able to afford the field trip next month. About not missing her daughter's school play because she had to work. About health insurance if Brianna got sick. Okay, Tasha heard herself say. Yes, I'll take the job. And thank you. Really, thank you. Julian's face broke into a genuine smile, the first real one she'd seen from him. You won't regret this. I promise. I hope not, Tasha said, still feeling like she was in a dream. You can start next Monday. That gives you time to give notice at your current jobs. I'll have HR send you all the paperwork. Julian stood, looking lighter somehow. And Tasha? You're doing me a favor too. Remember that. After he left, Tasha sat staring at the bags of school supplies. She pulled out one of the books, a beautiful hardcover picture book about a girl who wanted to be an astronaut. On the inside cover, Julian had written in neat handwriting, For Brianna. Dream big. Your friend, Julian. Tasha pressed the book to her chest and let herself cry. Not from sadness, but from relief and hope and the strange feeling that maybe, just maybe, their luck was finally changing. When she picked Brianna up from school that afternoon, her daughter's face lit up at the sight of all the supplies. Mama, are these for me? They are, baby. Mr. Julian brought them. Brianna hugged the cat pencil case to her chest. He's the nicest person ever. Can we invite him to dinner again? Tasha smiled, feeling the weight on her shoulders lighten just a bit. Maybe we can. As they walked home, Brianna skipping ahead with her new treasures, Tasha allowed herself to believe that accepting help wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. And sometimes, kindness came from the most unexpected places. Monday morning arrived with Tasha's nerves stretched tight. She stood outside Hayes Corporation, a tall glass building in the business district, clutching her purse and trying to calm her racing heart. This was really happening. She'd given notice at both her jobs, endured their disappointment and guilt trips, and now here she was, about to start over. The building lobby was all marble and chrome, spotlessly clean. Tasha felt out of place in her best outfit, a navy dress she'd bought from a thrift store and carefully pressed the night before. Everyone else looked expensive and confident, moving through the space like they belonged. "You must be Tasha," a cheerful voice called out. A woman in her 50s with short gray hair and a bright red blazer approached with an outstretched hand. "I'm Rita Thompson, HR Director. Julian told me all about you. Welcome to Hayes Corporation." Rita's warmth was genuine, and Tasha felt some of her tension ease. "Thank you. I'm a little nervous." "Don't be. We're going to take good care of you. Come on, let's get you set up." The next hour was a whirlwind of paperwork, ID badges, computer passwords, and introductions. Rita walked her through the building, pointing out the cafeteria, break rooms, and different departments. Everyone they passed smiled and said hello, making Tasha feel less like an outsider. Finally, Rita brought her to the top floor. "This is executive level. Julian's office is down the hall, and yours is right here." She opened a door to reveal a small but beautiful office with a desk, computer, filing cabinets, and a window overlooking the city. Tasha had never had her own office before. She'd never had a desk that wasn't shared or a space that was just hers. "This is mine?" she asked, her voice small. "All yours. Julian's assistant retired last month, so you'll be taking over her duties. Mostly scheduling, correspondence, filing, answering calls. Kevin Park, our office manager, will train you on everything. He's great, you'll love him." As if summoned, a young man appeared in the doorway. He was in his late 20s, wearing glasses and a friendly smile. "Hi. You must be Tasha. I'm Kevin. Ready to dive in?" Over the next few hours, Kevin walked Tasha through the computer systems, the filing organization, and the daily routine. He was patient and kind, never making her feel stupid when she asked questions. By lunch, Tasha's head was spinning with information, but she felt capable. "You're doing great," Kevin assured her as they ate sandwiches in the cafeteria. "Way better than Julian's last assistant on her first day." She cried 3 times. Tasha laughed, surprising herself. "I almost cried this morning before I came in. Totally normal. But honestly, you'll be fine. Julian's a good boss. Fair, respectful, doesn't yell. Some of the other executives here are nightmares, but Jules is solid." "Jules?" Kevin grinned. "That's what we call him when he's not around. Don't tell him I said that." At the end of the day, Julian stopped by her office. He was in a full suit, looking every inch the powerful CEO, but his smile was warm. "How was your first day?" "Overwhelming but good," Tasha admitted. "Everyone's been really nice." "Good. That's how it should be." He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. "I know this is all new and probably scary. But you're going to do great, Tasha. I believe in you." Something about the simple statement made Tasha's eyes prick with tears. When was the last time someone said they believed in her? "Thank you. For all of this. I won't let you down." "You couldn't if you tried," Julian said softly. Then, as if catching himself being too personal, he straightened. "I'll see you tomorrow. Don't stay too late on your first day." Over the next few weeks, Tasha settled into her new routine. She woke up at a reasonable hour, got Brianna ready for school, dropped her off, and went to work. She actually had time for breakfast. She could pack real lunches instead of grabbing whatever was cheapest. At the end of the day, she picked Brianna up from the after-school program that Hayes Corporation's benefits helped pay for. The work itself was manageable. Julian was patient with her learning curve, and Kevin was always available to answer questions. Rita checked in regularly, making sure Tasha was adjusting okay. Even the other executives were polite, though some clearly wondered how a former waitress had landed such a position. Tasha worked hard, determined to prove she deserved to be there. She organized Julian's chaotic filing system, streamlined his schedule, and learned his preferences quickly. She discovered he hated morning meetings, loved black coffee with nothing added, and had a weakness for chocolate chip cookies. One afternoon, about 3 weeks in, Tasha was filing documents when she came across a folder marked Sophia. Her hand hesitated, knowing she probably shouldn't look. But curiosity won. Inside were photos of a beautiful little girl with Julian's eyes and a bright smile. There were drawings, report cards, a pressed flower, a lock of baby hair. Every memory carefully preserved. I can't bring myself to put it away. Julian's voice came from the doorway, making Tasha jump. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have looked, she said quickly, closing the folder. It's okay. Julian entered the office, his expression sad. Sometimes I take it out and look through it. It helps me remember the good times before the pain. Tasha thought of Brianna, of how devastated she would be to lose her daughter. She was beautiful. She was everything. Julian took the folder, running his hand over it gently. I haven't talked about her this much in years. Usually people get uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. There's nothing to say. Nothing that makes it better. You just have to sit with it, Tasha said softly. Julian looked at her with something like gratitude. Exactly. You understand that. I understand loss. Different kind, but still loss. Brianna's father left before she was born. Told me to get rid of her. I lost the future I thought we'd have, lost the person I thought I loved. It's not the same as losing a child, but grief is grief. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm not. Not anymore. Because I have Brianna, and she's the best thing in my life. Julian smiled, the sadness in his eyes softening a bit. She's lucky to have you. They stood there for a moment, two people who understood pain and survival and the choice to keep going anyway. Then Julian cleared his throat, returning to professional mode. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. Can you make sure the conference room has coffee and water? Of course, Tasha said, grateful for the return to normal. That evening, as Tasha and Brianna ate dinner in their small apartment, her daughter looked up from her macaroni and cheese. Mama, you're smiling more. Am I? Yes. You used to look tired all the time. Now you look happy. Tasha reached across the table to squeeze her daughter's hand. I'm happy, baby. Things are getting better for us. Because of Mr. Julian? Yes. And because we were brave enough to accept his help. Brianna nodded seriously. Grandma used to say never turn away a blessing. Tasha felt tears spring to her eyes. Her mother had said that years ago before she passed. That's right. And Mr. Julian is a blessing. As she tucked Brianna into bed that night, reading one of the books Julian had bought, Tasha realized something important. She was building a life, not just surviving one. And maybe, just maybe, she was building a friendship too. The question was, could it stay just friendship? Or was something else growing between them, something neither of them was ready to acknowledge yet? Spring arrived with warmer weather and blossoming trees. Tasha had been working at Hayes Corporation for 3 months, and she'd found her rhythm. She knew Julian's schedule better than he did, anticipated his needs before he asked, and had become an essential part of keeping his office running smoothly. Their professional relationship was solid, but something else was developing too. They'd started having lunch together once a week, casual conversations that went beyond work. Julian asked about Brianna, genuinely interested in her progress at school. Tasha asked about his past, learning about his childhood, his parents who'd passed away, and the company he'd built from almost nothing. But the real shift happened on a Tuesday afternoon when Brianna's school called. Miss Brooks? This is Principal Anderson. Brianna is fine, but we're having a spring concert this Friday at 6. She's singing a solo and she wanted to make sure you knew. Tasha's heart sank. Friday. She just scheduled an important dinner meeting for Julian with potential investors at 7. She couldn't ask to leave early, not after only 3 months. But missing Brianna's solo would break her daughter's heart. She was sitting at her desk, staring at the conflict in the calendar, when Julian came out of his office. Everything okay? You look stressed. Tasha debated brushing it off, but Julian had been nothing but understanding. Brianna has a concert Friday evening. I just scheduled your investor dinner for the same time. Move the dinner, Julian said immediately. I can't. They're only in town for 2 days and this is the only time that works for them. Julian thought for a moment. What time is the concert? 6 o'clock. But you don't need me there for dinner. Kevin can handle it. What time does the concert end? Probably 7:30. Julian pulled out his phone. I'm texting the investors. We'll move dinner to 8:30. Problem solved. Julian, you can't move a major business dinner for my daughter's concert. He looked up from his phone, his expression serious. Yes, I can. And I am. Family comes first, Tasha. Always. Besides, his expression softened, I'd like to come to the concert if that's okay. I miss hearing kids sing. Tasha felt her throat tighten. You want to come? If you don't mind. I promise I'll sit in the back and not embarrass anyone. Brianna would love that. Friday evening arrived. Tasha left work at 5 to pick up Brianna from after-school care. Her daughter was buzzing with excitement, wearing a bright blue dress they'd bought special for the concert. "Is Mr. Julian really coming?" Brianna asked for the 10th time. "He said he would." "Good. I sang extra good in practice. Miss Rodriguez says I have a beautiful voice." The school auditorium was packed with parents and families. Tasha found seats in the middle section, saving one beside her. At 5 minutes to 6, Julian appeared, dressed more casually than usual in khakis and a green button-down shirt. He looked younger, less burdened. "Made it," he said, sliding into the seat beside her. "Traffic was murder." "Thank you for coming," Tasha said, meaning it deeply. The concert began with the younger kids singing about spring flowers and baby birds. Then Brianna's kindergarten class took the stage. She spotted Julian and Tasha immediately, waving enthusiastically enough that her teacher had to gently redirect her attention. When it was time for her solo, Brianna stepped forward. She looked so small on that big stage, but when she opened her mouth and sang, "You Are My Sunshine," her voice rang out clear and sweet. Tasha felt tears slide down her cheeks. Her baby was growing up. She glanced at Julian and saw tears on his face too. He was watching Brianna with such intense emotion that Tasha's heart ached for him. This must be torture, watching another little girl sing when his own daughter never would again. She reached over and squeezed his hand without thinking. Julian gripped back, holding on like she was the only thing keeping him grounded. They sat like that through the rest of the song, two people finding comfort in shared presence. After the concert, Brianna ran to them, her face glowing. "Did you hear me? Did I do good?" "You were perfect," Tasha said, scooping her daughter into a hug. "The best performance of the night," Julian added, his voice thick. Brianna beamed at him. "Thank you for coming. Mama said you had an important meeting." "Nothing's more important than hearing you sing." The simple statement, said with such sincerity, made Tasha fall a little bit in love with him. Not the romantic kind, not yet, but the kind of love that comes from recognizing true goodness in another person. Later that night, after Julian had gone to his rescheduled dinner and Brianna was asleep, Tasha sat in her living room thinking about how much her life had changed. 6 months ago, she'd been drowning, working herself to exhaustion just to keep a roof over their heads. Now she had stability, security, and something that felt like family. The next week brought another shift. Tasha was organizing files when she came across financial records that showed just how wealthy Julian was. Not just comfortable. Truly impossibly wealthy. Hayes Corporation was worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and Julian owned it outright. She'd known he had money, but this was different. This was private jets and vacation homes and the kind of wealth that changed everything. It made her understand why he'd been lonely, why he valued genuine connection. Everyone in his life probably wanted something from him. "Find anything interesting?" Julian asked, appearing in the doorway. Tasha jumped, guilty. "I wasn't snooping. These were in the filing cabinet." "I know. I'm not worried." Julian entered the office, sitting in the chair across from her desk. "You look shocked. Let me guess, you saw the financial statements." "I didn't realize. I mean, I knew you had money, but this is obscene." "Yeah, it is." Julian leaned back, looking tired. "My parents were immigrants. They came here with nothing and built a small restaurant. They worked themselves to death, literally. Dad had a heart attack at 53. Mom followed 6 months later. They left me $100,000 and a lesson about the value of hard work." "How did you turn that into this?" "Smart investments, lucky timing, and a refusal to quit. I built Hayes Corporation from the ground up. Made my first million by 30, first 10 million by 35. By the time Sophia was born, I had more money than I knew what to do with." His expression darkened. "But I couldn't save her. All that money and I couldn't save my own daughter." Tasha came around the desk and did something she'd never done before. She hugged him. Julian stiffened in surprise, then wrapped his arms around her, holding on tight. "Money can't fix everything," Tasha said softly. "But kindness can heal a lot. You've healed me and Brianna. You've given us hope." "You've healed me too," Julian whispered. "You and Brianna. You make me feel human again." They pulled apart, both a little embarrassed by the emotional moment. Julian cleared his throat. "Anyway, I wanted to ask you something. There's a company charity gala next month. It's a big event, very formal. I need a +1 and I was wondering if you'd come with me." Tasha's eyebrows shot up. "As your date?" "As my friend," Julian clarified quickly. No, as my friend. I just don't want to go alone, and you're the only person I actually want to spend time with these days." Tasha thought about it. A formal gala meant an expensive dress, getting her hair done, feeling out of place among rich people. But it also meant helping Julian, supporting him the way he'd supported her. Okay, she said. I'll go. Julian's face lit up. Really? Really? But I don't have anything to wear to something like that. Consider it part of the job. I'll have Rita help you find something. My treat. Julian? It's for work, he insisted. You're representing Hayes Corporation. The company can pay for appropriate attire. Tasha laughed. You're very good at justifying things. Years of practice. As Julian left her office, Tasha realized something important. She trusted him completely now. Not just with her job or her daughter's well-being, but with her heart. Whether that trust would lead somewhere more, she didn't know. But for now, friendship was enough. Or at least, that's what she told herself. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon, shattering Tasha's carefully built sense of security. She was at her desk, reviewing Julian's schedule for the following week, when her phone rang with an unknown number. Hello? Tasha? It's me. Her blood turned to ice. That voice. She knew that voice, even though she hadn't heard it in 6 years. Devin? Yeah, baby. It's been a while, huh? Devin Harris. Brianna's father. The man who'd told Tasha to get rid of their baby, who'd walked out when she'd refused, who'd signed away all his rights and responsibilities without a second thought. How did you get this number? Tasha's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. I got my ways. Listen, I've been thinking. I made a mistake leaving you and the kid. I want to make it right. Be a father. No. The word came out flat and hard. What do you mean no? She's my daughter too. I got rights. You signed them away. Remember? You wanted nothing to do with her. Devin's voice took on an edge. People change. I'm different now. Got myself together. And I hear you're doing real well for yourself working for some rich guy. Maybe you could help me out a little for old time's sake. And let me see my kid. There it was. The real reason for his call. Money. Tasha felt sick. You're not seeing Brianna. Ever. That's not your choice to make. I'll get a lawyer. I'll take you to court. You can't keep a man from his own child. The call ended, but Tasha sat frozen at her desk, panic rising in her chest like flood water. Devin was back. Devin wanted access to Brianna. Devin, who'd spent their entire relationship drunk or high, who'd screamed at her, who'd shoved her once hard enough to leave a bruise, who'd made it clear he wanted nothing to do with a baby. Tasha? Julian's voice cut through her spiral. He stood in the doorway concerned. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. Tasha's voice broke. Brianna's father just called. He wants back in our lives. Julian's expression hardened. Come into my office. Now. She followed him on shaky legs. Julian closed the door and guided her to the couch, sitting beside her. Tell me everything. The whole story came tumbling out. How she'd met Devin at 19, how charming he'd seemed at first. How that charm had turned to anger, to drinking, to drugs. How she'd gotten pregnant accidentally, how Devin had demanded she get an abortion. How she'd refused and he'd left, signing paperwork to terminate his parental rights so he wouldn't owe child support. He never wanted her, Tasha said, tears streaming down her face. He called her it. Said I was ruining his life. And now he's back saying he's changed, but I heard it in his voice. He wants money. He heard I have a good job and he wants to use Brianna to get money from me. That's not going to happen, Julian said firmly. We'll get you a lawyer. A good one. He can't just waltz back in after 6 years. But what if he can? What if a court says he has rights? What if they make me let him see her? She doesn't even know him. It would terrify her. Julian took her hands, his grip strong and steady. Listen to me. I have resources. I have lawyers on retainer who are the best in the state. We will fight this. But right now I need you to breathe. Can you do that? Tasha tried, pulling in shaky breaths. Julian stayed with her until her panic subsided to a manageable level. I'm going to make some calls, Julian said. There's a family lawyer I know, Patricia Green. She's a fighter. She'll help us figure this out. I can't afford a lawyer like that. You're not paying. I am. Julian, I can't let you. Yes, you can, he said, his voice gentle but firm. You can and you will. Because this is what friends do. They help each other. And Brianna is important to me too. I'm not letting some deadbeat come back and hurt either of you. Tasha wanted to argue, but the relief was too strong. Thank you. By the end of the day, Patricia Green had been contacted and a meeting scheduled for the following morning. Julian cleared his calendar to attend, despite Tasha's protests. This is more important, he said simply. That night, Tasha held Brianna extra tight at bedtime. Her daughter sensed something was wrong. Mama? Are you sad? Just a little worried, baby. But it's going to be okay. Mr. Julian will help. He helps everyone. Tasha kissed her daughter's forehead. Yes, he does. The meeting with Patricia Green was both encouraging and terrifying. The lawyer, a sharp woman in her 40s with kind eyes, laid out the situation clearly. The good news is he signed away his rights. That's a strong legal position. The bad news is he can petition the court to reinstate those rights if he can prove he's changed and it's in the child's best interest. But it's not in her best interest, Tasha said desperately. She doesn't know him. He was abusive to me. He's only doing this for money. We'll need to prove all of that. Do you have any documentation? Hospital records, police reports, text messages. Tasha shook her head miserably. I never reported anything. I was young and scared. And he was smart about it. Never hit my face, never left marks that anyone would see. Patricia made notes. Okay. What about witnesses? Anyone who saw how he treated you? My neighbor at the time, Mrs. Chin. She heard him yelling at me through the walls. And my friend Lauren saw bruises once when we went swimming. I'll need their contact information. We'll also need character witnesses for you, people who can testify you're a good mother. I can do that, Julian said immediately. And I'll provide several others from the company who've interacted with Tasha and Brianna. Patricia looked between them, something knowing in her expression. Mr. Hayes, what's your relationship with Ms. Brooks? She works for me. And she's my friend. A good friend. And the child? Brianna is special. I care about her very much. Patricia nodded slowly. That could work in our favor actually. Stability, positive male role model, support system. It all helps build the case that disrupting Brianna's current life would be harmful. Over the next week, Patricia worked quickly. She gathered statements, filed preliminary paperwork, and prepared their defense. Meanwhile, Devon's lawyer sent a formal petition to the court seeking reinstated parental rights and shared custody. Reading the petition made Tasha physically ill. It painted Devon as a reformed man who'd overcome addiction and wanted to be part of his daughter's life. It suggested Tasha was being vindictive and denying Brianna a relationship with her father. It's all lies, Tasha said, showing the papers to Julian. They were in his office late one evening, long after everyone else had gone home. Julian read through the petition, his jaw clenching tighter with each page. This is garbage. Pure manipulation. He set the papers down. But Patricia will handle it. She's the best. What if it's not enough? What if he gets rights back? I can't let him near her, Julian. I can't. You won't have to, Julian said with absolute certainty. I promise you we'll fix this. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. Because I'm not letting anything happen to you or Brianna. He paused, seeming to struggle with words. You're too important to me. The way he said it made something shift in the air between them. Tasha looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something in his eyes that went beyond friendship or professional courtesy. Julian? She started, not sure what she wanted to say. Before she could figure it out, his phone rang. He glanced at it and sighed. Patricia. I should take this. The moment passed, but it lingered in Tasha's mind. What was growing between them? And was it wise to acknowledge it while everything else in her life felt so unstable? The preliminary hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. Until then, all they could do was prepare and hope that the system would protect an innocent child from a man who only wanted to exploit her. Tasha tried to stay strong, but at night, alone in her apartment, fear threatened to drown her. What if she lost Brianna? What if Devon somehow won? The thoughts kept her awake, staring at the ceiling, praying for a miracle. She didn't know that the miracle was already working behind the scenes, in the form of a determined billionaire who decided that nothing, absolutely nothing, was more important than protecting the woman and child who'd become his family. The mediation meeting was scheduled for a Tuesday morning at Patricia Green's law office. Tasha barely slept the night before, running through every possible scenario in her mind. Patricia had been confident, but that didn't stop the fear coiling in Tasha's stomach. Julian picked her up at 8 in the morning. She'd taken the day off work, too anxious to focus. He looked at her with concern as she climbed into his car. How are you holding up? I'm terrified, Tasha admitted. What if he says the right things? What if they believe him? They won't. Patricia has everything we need. Trust the process. But Tasha couldn't trust anything right now. Her whole world felt like it was balanced on a knife edge, ready to topple with one wrong word. Patricia's office was in a tall building downtown. The conference room was formal and cold, with a long table and uncomfortable chairs. Patricia arrived first, setting out folders and paperwork with practiced efficiency. "Remember," she said to Tasha. "Stay calm. Don't let him get a reaction from you. That's what he wants." Devin arrived 10 minutes late with a lawyer Tasha didn't recognize. She barely recognized Devin himself. He'd put on weight, his face puffy and eyes bloodshot despite his attempt to look presentable in an ill-fitting suit. He smiled when he saw her, a smile that made her skin crawl. "Tasha, looking good. New job must be treating you right." She didn't respond, keeping her eyes on Patricia. The mediation started with formal introductions. Devin's lawyer, a tired-looking man named Frank Morrison, laid out their position. Devin wanted shared custody, every other weekend and alternating holidays. He'd completed rehab, had 6 months of sobriety, and wanted to be part of his daughter's life. "Mr. Harris has turned his life around," Morrison said. "He's working steadily, attending AA meetings, and genuinely regrets his past mistakes. Every child deserves to know their father." When it was Patricia's turn, she was surgical in her approach. She presented documentation of Devin's previous behavior. Statements from Mrs. Chen, the old neighbor, describing the yelling and fighting. Hospital records from when Tasha had gone to the ER with bruised ribs, claiming she'd fallen downstairs. Bank records showing Devin had withdrawn money from Tasha's account without permission multiple times. "Mr. Harris didn't just walk away from his responsibilities," Patricia said coldly. "He was abusive, controlling, and made it clear he wanted nothing to do with his child. For 6 years he had no contact. No birthday cards, no phone calls, no child support despite having Ms. Brooks's contact information. And now, coincidentally, when Ms. Brooks has a better job and stable income, he suddenly wants to be a father." Devin's face reddened. "People change. I made mistakes, but I've done the work. I'm sober. I deserve a chance." "You had a chance," Tasha said quietly, breaking her silence. "I begged you to stay. I begged you to care about our daughter. You looked at my pregnant belly and told me to get rid of it. You called her a mistake. You pushed me so hard I fell and almost lost her. You don't get to come back now and pretend to care. I was sick. Addiction is a disease. I'm better now." "6 months sober," Patricia interjected. "That's commendable, Mr. Harris, but it's not exactly a long track record. And it doesn't erase 6 years of abandonment." Morrison tried to recover. "My client is willing to start slowly. Supervised visits, working up to more time. He just wants to know his daughter. Or he wants access to Ms. Brooks's money," Patricia said. "Tell me, Mr. Harris, are you currently employed?" Devin shifted uncomfortably. "Between jobs right now. And your source of income?" "I'm getting by." "Are you receiving disability payments?" "Unemployment." "Look, that's not relevant." "It's extremely relevant. You're unemployed, recently out of rehab, and suddenly interested in a child you've never met right when her mother gets a good job. The pattern is clear." The mediation went on for 2 hours. Devin's lawyer tried various approaches, but Patricia shut them all down with facts and documentation. Finally, Morrison asked for a private consultation with his client. They stepped out of the room. Julian, who'd been sitting quietly beside Tasha the whole time, finally spoke. "He's going to fold. I can see it." "How do you know?" Tasha asked, her voice hoarse from stress. "Because he's not fighting for Brianna. He's fighting for leverage. And Patricia just proved he doesn't have any." When Devin and Morrison returned, the older lawyer looked defeated. "My client would like to make a proposal." "We're listening," Patricia said, her tone neutral. Morrison glanced at Devin, who wouldn't meet anyone's eyes. "Mr. Harris is willing to terminate his petition in exchange for a one-time settlement of $20,000. There it was. The truth laid bare. Devin didn't want his daughter. He wanted money. Tasha felt anger rush through her so hot and fast she thought she might be sick. "You're trying to sell your parental rights?" "It's compensation for emotional distress," Morrison said weakly, even he looking uncomfortable with the request. "It's extortion," Patricia snapped. "And it's not happening." "Then we go to court," Devin said, finding his voice. "And I tell the judge how you kept my kid from me, turned her against me." "She doesn't even know you exist," Tasha said, her voice shaking with rage. "I never had to turn her against you. You were never there to turn against." Julian leaned forward, speaking for the first time. "I'll give you 10,000. One time. In exchange for a legally binding agreement that you terminate all parental rights permanently, never contact Ms. Brooks or Brianna again, And if you violate that agreement, you pay back triple the settlement plus legal fees. Everyone turned to stare at him. Devon's eyes lit up with greed. Make it 15. 10, Julian said flatly. Take it or we go to court, and trust me, I can afford better lawyers than you can. I will bury you in legal fees until you have nothing left. $10,000 for you to walk away and never come back. Devon looked at Morrison, who shrugged helplessly. It's a fair offer, considering the alternative. Fine, Devon muttered. Deal. Patricia immediately started drafting the agreement. Within an hour it was done. Devon signed away his rights for the second and final time, this time with no way to ever reclaim them. Julian wrote a check on the spot. As Devon left with his lawyer, he paused at the door. You always did think you were better than me, Tasha. I am better than you, Tasha said, her voice steady now. Because I love my daughter more than I love money. And you never will. Devon's face twisted with anger, but Morrison pulled him out before he could respond. When they were gone, Tasha collapsed into her chair, shaking. Is it really over? It's over, Patricia confirmed. This agreement is airtight. He can't come back. You're safe. Tasha burst into tears, all the fear and stress of the past few weeks pouring out. Julian was beside her in an instant, pulling her into his arms. She clung to him, sobbing into his shoulder while he held her and murmured that everything was okay now. Later, outside the building, Tasha finally pulled herself together enough to speak. Julian, I can't let you pay that money. You're not letting me. I'm choosing to. And it's worth every penny to make sure you and Brianna are safe. It's too much. It's nothing. Literally nothing to me. Please, Tasha, just accept it. Let me help. She looked up at him, this man who'd walked into her life by accident and changed everything. Why do you care so much? Really? Julian was quiet for a long moment, his hand still resting on her back. Because somewhere along the way you and Brianna became my family. The only family I have left. I couldn't save Sophia, but I can protect you too. Let me do that. Tasha felt her heart crack open. You already saved us. You saved us the first night you stayed for dinner. Julian smiled, but there was pain in it. You saved me too. They stood there on the sidewalk in the middle of a Tuesday morning, two broken people who'd found healing in each other. Tasha realized she was in love with him. Completely, totally, terrifyingly in love. But now wasn't the time to say it. Not with everything still so raw and uncertain. Thank you, she said instead. For everything. Always, Julian replied. That evening, when Tasha picked Brianna up from after-school care, she held her daughter extra tight. I have good news, baby. Remember how Mama was worried about something? Aha. Well, it's all fixed now. Everything's going to be okay. Brianna looked up at her with complete trust. I told you Mr. Julian would help. Tasha laughed through tears. Yes, you did. You were right. As they walked home hand in hand, Tasha felt something she hadn't felt in years, true safety. Not just financial security, but the knowledge that someone had her back, that she wasn't alone anymore. The question now wasn't whether she loved Julian. She knew she did. The question was what to do about it and whether he felt the same way. Only time would tell. Life returned to a comfortable rhythm after the Devon situation was resolved. Summer arrived, bringing longer days and warmer weather. Brianna finished kindergarten with excellent grades, and Tasha had officially been at Hayes Corporation for 6 months. She'd proven herself capable and valuable, earning respect from coworkers and executives alike. Her relationship with Julian had deepened, though they'd both been careful to maintain professional boundaries at work. Outside of work was different. Julian had become a regular presence in their lives, joining them for dinner at least once a week, attending Brianna's end-of-year school performance, and even taking them to the zoo one Saturday when the weather was perfect. Tasha knew she was in love with him. She saw it in the way her heart raced when he smiled, in how she caught herself thinking about him at random moments, in the disappointment she felt on days they didn't see each other. But she didn't know if he felt the same way, and she was too afraid to risk what they had by asking. The company charity gala finally arrived in late June. Rita had helped Tasha find a beautiful dress, a deep maroon gown that fit perfectly and made her feel elegant for the first time in her life. She'd had her hair done at a salon, styled in soft curls that framed her face. Looking in the mirror, Tasha barely recognized herself. Julian picked her up at 7. When he saw her, his eyes widened and something flashed across his face, something that looked like wonder. Tasha, you look beautiful. Thank you. You clean up pretty nice yourself, she said, taking in his perfectly tailored black tuxedo. The gala was at a hotel downtown, the ballroom decorated with white flowers and twinkling lights. It was the kind of event Tasha had only seen in movies. Wealthy people in expensive clothes, champagne flowing freely, a live orchestra playing. Julian kept her close as they moved through the crowd. He introduced her to business partners, investors, and other CEOs. Some were genuinely kind. Others looked at Tasha with barely concealed judgment, their eyes taking in her background and finding her lacking. "Who is she, Jules?" one woman asked loud enough for Tasha to hear. "The help." "Watch yourself, Catherine," Julian said coldly. "Tasha is my assistant and my friend. You'll treat her with respect or you can leave." The woman's eyes narrowed, but she moved away. Tasha felt humiliated despite Julian's defense. "Don't let them get to you," Julian said quietly. "Half these people inherited their money and never worked a day in their lives. You're worth 10 of them." But the damage was done. Tasha felt out of place like a kid playing dress-up in adult clothes. The evening got worse when Julian's ex-wife arrived. Candace Hayes was everything Tasha wasn't. Tall, blonde, elegant in a white designer gown that probably cost more than Tasha's monthly rent. She moved through the crowd with confidence, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on Julian. "Oh no," Julian muttered. "I didn't know she'd be here." "Your ex-wife." "Unfortunately." Candace approached them with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Julian. It's been a while." "Candace. What are you doing here?" "The Davidsons invited me. You remember Philip Davidson? He's on the board of the charity." I couldn't say no. Her eyes slid to Tasha. "And who is this?" "Tasha Brooks, my assistant." "Assistant?" Candace's smile sharpened. "How nice. You always did like surrounding yourself with people who needed you." Tasha felt the insult like a slap. Julian's jaw clenched. "If you'll excuse us, Candace." He guided Tasha away, but the encounter had rattled them both. They found their assigned table and sat with several other Hayes Corporation executives and their spouses. The conversation flowed around them, but Tasha couldn't focus. She kept noticing people glancing at her, whispering to each other. Halfway through dinner, she excused herself to the restroom. Inside, 2 women were touching up their makeup and talking. "Did you see Julian Hayes with that woman?" "She's his assistant, apparently." "Oh please. We all know what assistant means. She's clearly with him for his money. I mean, look at her. She's pretty, I'll give her that, but come on. What else would she have to offer someone like Julian? I heard she was a waitress before. He probably felt sorry for her and now she's latched on like a parasite." Tasha stood frozen in the stall, hot shame flooding through her. Is that what people thought? That she was using Julian? She waited until the women left before emerging. Looking at herself in the mirror, all she could see was someone pretending to be something she wasn't. When she returned to the table, Julian immediately sensed something was wrong. "What happened?" "Nothing. I'm fine." But she wasn't fine and Julian knew it. He excused them both from the table and led her out to a balcony where the night air was cool and quiet. "Tell me," he said gently. The whole story came out. The women in the bathroom, their cruel words, the way people had been looking at her all night. "They think I'm using you for your money? That I'm some gold digger who trapped you?" Julian's expression darkened with anger. "Who said that? Give me names." "It doesn't matter. They're probably right to wonder. I mean, look at us. You're a billionaire CEO and I'm a former waitress. It looks bad." "I don't care how it looks." "Well, I do. I care that people think I'm taking advantage of you. I care that your ex-wife looked at me like I was dirt on her shoe. I care that everyone in there is judging me." "Let them judge," Julian said fiercely. "Their opinions don't matter. They matter to me. And they should matter to you. You have a reputation, a company. I'm damaging that just by being here with you." Julian grabbed her shoulders gently, making her look at him. "Listen to me. You are not damaging anything. You are the best thing that's happened to me in 5 years. You and Brianna brought light back into my life. I don't care what anyone thinks about that." "Julian." "No, let me finish. I should have said this weeks ago. I'm in love with you, Tasha. Completely, totally in love with you. I think I have been since you let me stay for dinner that first night, when you were terrified but chose to trust anyway. You're brave and kind and strong, and I can't imagine my life without you in it." Tasha stared at him, tears streaming down her face. "You love me? I love you. And I love Brianna. I want to be part of your lives, officially. Not as your boss or your friend, but as your partner. If you'll have me. But what about all those people in there? What about your ex-wife and the gossip and the judgment?" "To hell with all of them," Julian said. "The only opinions that matter to me are yours and Brianna's. Tell me you feel the same way." Tell me I'm not imagining this connection between us. I love you too, Tasha whispered. I've been trying not to because it seemed impossible, but I love you so much it hurts. Julian pulled her close and kissed her. It was soft and gentle and perfect, full of promise and hope. When they broke apart, both were crying. We should go back inside, Tasha said. People will talk. Let them talk. But first, there's something I need to do. Julian led her back into the ballroom. The dessert course had been served and people were mingling. He found the microphone used earlier for speeches and tapped it to get attention. The room gradually quieted. I apologize for the interruption, Julian said, his voice carrying through the space. But there's something I need to address. Many of you have been gossiping tonight about my relationship with Tasha Brooks. Let me make this perfectly clear. Tasha is not just my assistant. She's the woman I love. She and her daughter have become my family. If anyone has a problem with that, you're welcome to leave. But I won't tolerate disrespect toward her. Not now, not ever. The room was silent, hundreds of eyes on them. Tasha felt exposed and terrified, but Julian's hand in hers was steady and sure. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, someone started clapping. Kevin, the office manager, started a genuine applause that others gradually joined. Not everyone, but enough. Even some who'd been whispering earlier seemed chastened by Julian's public declaration. Candace Hayes stared at them with an unreadable expression before turning and leaving the gala entirely. As the applause faded and conversations resumed, Julian looked at Tasha. Still want to run? No, she said, squeezing his hand. I'm done running. Let's face this together. They stayed for the rest of the gala, dancing together, talking with the genuinely kind people who approached them with congratulations. It wasn't perfect. Some people still judged. But Tasha realized Julian was right. The only opinions that mattered were theirs, and they had chosen each other. Later that night, after Julian drove her home and kissed her goodnight at her door, Tasha checked on sleeping Brianna. Looking at her daughter's peaceful face, Tasha knew she'd made the right choice. Love was worth fighting for, worth facing judgment for, worth everything. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But they'd face them together. The weekend after the gala, Julian took Tasha and Brianna on a trip to a lake house 2 hours outside the city. It belonged to Julian's company, used occasionally for executive retreats, but this weekend it was just for them. Brianna was beside herself with excitement. She'd never been to a lake, never stayed in a house that big and beautiful. The drive up was filled with her constant chatter and questions. Will there be fish? Can I swim? Are there boats? Julian answered each question patiently, smiling at her enthusiasm in the rearview mirror. Tasha watched them interact, her heart full. This man loved her daughter genuinely, not as a way to get closer to Tasha, but for who Brianna was as a person. The lake house was stunning. Large windows overlooked the water, there was a dock with a small boat tied to it, and the interior was all warm wood and comfortable furniture. Brianna ran from room to room exploring everything. Mama, there's a room with bunk beds. Can I sleep in the top one? If Mr. Julian says it's okay, Tasha replied. Of course, Julian said. Pick whichever room you want. They spent the afternoon by the lake. Julian had brought a kite and he taught Brianna how to fly it. Tasha sat on a blanket watching them, feeling more relaxed than she had in months. The gala drama had died down at work. A few people had been cold to her initially, but Julian had made it clear that disrespecting Tasha meant answering to him. Most had fallen in line. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Julian and Tasha walked along the shore while Brianna played near the water's edge, collecting interesting rocks. This is perfect, Tasha said. Thank you for bringing us here. I wanted to get away from the city, from work and pressure and people's opinions. I wanted it to just be us. Julian took her hand, interlacing their fingers. Tasha, I meant what I said at the gala. I love you. I want a future with you. I want that too. But I need to know, what does that future look like? I mean, we work together. I have Brianna to think about. And you're still dealing with your grief over Sophia. Julian stopped walking, turning to face her. Sophia will always be part of me. That grief doesn't just disappear. But it's changed. It's softer now, less sharp. Being with you and Brianna has helped me heal in ways I didn't think possible. As for the rest, we'll figure it out. Maybe you transition to a different department at work so there's no conflict of interest. Or maybe you decide you want to do something else entirely. I'll support whatever you choose. And Brianna? Julian's expression softened. I love that little girl like she's my own. If you'll let me, I want to be a father to her. Not to replace anyone but to be there for her. To help raise her. to give her everything she deserves. Tears slipped down Tasha's cheeks. She already thinks of you as family. Then let me make it official. Not right away, I know it's fast. But eventually. Marry me, Tasha. Build a life with me. It wasn't a formal proposal. There was no ring, no getting down on one knee. But it was perfect, standing by a lake in the fading sunlight, with her daughter playing nearby and the man she loved looking at her with complete honesty. Yes, Tasha said. Eventually, yes. But let's take our time. Let's make sure Brianna is ready. Let's do this right. Julian pulled her close and kissed her, deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, they heard clapping. Brianna stood a few feet away, grinning. Are you gonna get married? Can I be in the wedding? Can I wear a fancy dress? Tasha laughed, her joy overflowing. Yes, baby. You can be in the wedding. The most important person in the wedding. Brianna ran over and threw her arms around both of them. Julian lifted her up, and the three of them stood there in a group hug as the sun set over the water. That evening, they made dinner together in the lake house kitchen. Simple food, spaghetti again because it was Brianna's favorite, but it tasted like celebration. After dinner, they sat on the porch watching stars come out. Brianna fell asleep in Julian's lap, and he carried her to bed without waking her. When he came back, Tasha was still on the porch, wrapped in a blanket. Julian sat beside her and pulled her close. I never thought I'd have this again, he said quietly. A family. Well, hope for the future. After Sophia died, I was just going through motions. Making money, running the company, but not really living. You changed that. You changed my life too. 6 months ago I was drowning. Working myself to death just to survive. Now I have security and happiness and love. Real love, not the broken thing I had with Devon. This is real, Julian confirmed. This is the kind of love that lasts. The kind that weathers storms and grows stronger. I'm sure of it. How can you be sure? Because we've already been through storms. The fear when I first met Brianna, the job transition, Devon coming back, the gala drama. We faced all of that together and came out stronger. That's how I know. Tasha leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm scared sometimes. That this is too good to be true. That something will come and take it away. Nothing's taking this away. I won't let it. We won't let it. They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the gentle lap of water against the dock. Inside the house, Brianna slept peacefully. Everything felt right in a way Tasha had never experienced before. When should we tell people? She asked. About us officially. People at work already know after my speech at the gala. But we should tell Brianna properly. Make sure she understands what it means. The next morning after breakfast, they sat with Brianna on the dock. Her little legs dangled over the edge, bare feet just above the water. Sweetie, we need to talk to you about something important, Tasha began. Brianna looked between them, curious but not worried. Okay. Julian took over, his voice gentle. You know I care about you and your mom very much, right? And we care about you too. Good. Well, your mom and I have decided that we want to be together. Like a couple. Like a family. Brianna tilted her head, thinking. Like how Jenny's mom and her stepdad are? Kind of like that, Tasha said. But we want to know how you feel about it. If it's okay with you. Is Mr. Julian gonna be my daddy? The question hung in the air. Julian's eyes filled with tears. I would like that very much if it's okay with you. I know I can't replace your biological father. I don't have a daddy, Brianna interrupted matter-of-factly. I never met him. But I always wanted one. Can you be my daddy for real? Julian's voice cracked. Yes, I can be your daddy for real. Brianna threw her arms around his neck. Good. I wanted you to be my daddy. I told my friend Emma that I might get a daddy soon, and she said I was lucky. Tasha wiped tears from her own eyes. So you're okay with this? With me and Julian being together? Mama, I told you Mr. Julian was special. I knew he was gonna stay. Brianna pulled back from the hug, her expression suddenly serious. But you have to promise not to fight. Jenny's mom and stepdad fight sometimes and it makes her sad. We promise to always talk things through, Julian said. And if we disagree about something, we'll work it out calmly. Deal? Deal? Brianna stuck out her little hand for a shake, and Julian shook it solemnly. The rest of the weekend was pure joy. They took the boat out on the lake, made s'mores over a fire pit, and read bedtime stories together. Brianna called Julian Daddy Jules for the first time, and he had to excuse himself to cry happy tears in the bathroom. Driving back to the city Sunday evening, Brianna fell asleep in the back seat. Tasha looked at Julian. I can't believe this is my life now. Better get used to it, Julian said with a smile. Because this is just the beginning. Back at work Monday morning, Tasha submitted a request to transfer to a different department to avoid conflict of interest. Rita was supportive, helping her find a position in community relations that still paid well but removed the direct reporting relationship with Julian. Over the following months, their relationship deepened. They spent almost every evening together, either at Julian's larger apartment or Tasha's smaller one that had become home. Julian officially met Mrs. Patterson, Tasha's neighbor, who cried happy tears hearing how well things had turned out. They went to Brianna's soccer games together, Julian cheering louder than anyone. They had family dinners with co-workers who'd become friends. They built a life together, piece by piece, day by day. And through it all, Tasha marveled at how a single moment of trust, of letting a stranger stay for dinner despite her fear, had changed everything. Kindness had led to hope. Hope had led to love. And love had created a family where there had been only loneliness before. The official proposal came 6 months later, on Brianna's 6th birthday. Brianna's 6th birthday party was held in the community room of Julian's apartment building. Tasha had wanted to keep it simple, maybe just a cake and a few friends from school. Julian had other ideas. The room was decorated with bright blue and green streamers, Brianna's favorite colors. There were balloons everywhere, a table full of presents, and a beautiful cake shaped like a butterfly. 20 kids from Brianna's class ran around playing games, their parents chatting and laughing along the edges of the room. Rita was there, along with Kevin and several other co-workers who'd become genuine friends. Mrs. Patterson came, using a walker but smiling broadly. Even some of Brianna's teachers showed up, bearing gifts and good wishes. Tasha stood watching the chaos with a full heart. A year ago, she'd barely been able to afford a small cake from the grocery store. Now her daughter was surrounded by love and laughter, living a life Tasha had only dreamed of providing. Julian appeared beside her, slipping an arm around her waist. Happy? Deliriously, Tasha said. Thank you for all this. It's my pleasure. She's my daughter too now. The possessive pride in his voice made Tasha's eyes sting with tears. Julian had started adoption proceedings last month. Once finalized, he would legally be Brianna's father. After the games and cake, it was time for presents. Brianna tore through them with appropriate enthusiasm, thanking each person politely just as Tasha had taught her. Books, toys, art supplies, a new bike from Julian that made her scream with joy. When all the presents were opened, Julian stood up. Wait, there's one more thing. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Not a ring box, but something similar. He knelt down in front of Brianna while everyone watched with interest. Brianna, you've made me the happiest person in the world by letting me be your dad. I promise to always be there for you, to support your dreams, to help you when you're scared, and to love you forever. I have something for you. He opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a small heart pendant. This was my daughter Sophia's. She would have wanted you to have it. You remind me so much of her, and I know she would have loved you. Brianna's eyes went wide. Really? I can have it? It's yours. And it means you're part of my family officially. Part of my heart. Brianna threw her arms around Julian's neck. Thank you, Daddy Jules. I'll take care of it forever. While everyone was focused on that sweet moment, Julian stood and turned to Tasha. He pulled out another box, this one definitely a ring box, and knelt down again. The room went silent except for a few gasps. Tasha Brooks, you walked into my life at my lowest point and brought light back into it. You taught me that love isn't something you lose forever, it's something you can find again. You and Brianna have become my whole world. I don't want to spend another day without being your husband. Will you marry me? He opened the box to reveal a beautiful but not ostentatious ring, a simple diamond on a gold band. Perfect for Tasha's practical nature but still special. Tasha's hands flew to her mouth. She'd known this was coming eventually, but here now, in front of everyone they cared about, was perfect. Yes, she said through tears. Yes, absolutely yes. Julian slipped the ring on her finger and stood to kiss her while everyone cheered. Brianna jumped up and down, clapping. Mama's getting married. We're gonna be a real family. We already are a real family, Julian said, pulling Brianna into the hug. This just makes it official. The party continued with new energy, everyone congratulating them. Rita hugged Tasha tight. I knew it from the first day you walked into the office. You two were meant to be. Kevin gave Julian a mock punch on the arm. About time, boss. We've been running a betting pool on when you'd propose. I just won $200. Even Mrs. Patterson shuffled over to offer her blessing. I knew that man was special when he stayed with Brianna in the hallway. Real men don't leave children alone and scared. As the party wound down and guests left, Tasha found herself alone with Julian on the building's rooftop terrace. Brianna was downstairs with Rita, showing off her new necklace to anyone who'd look. "Are you sure about this?" Tasha asked, looking at the ring on her finger. "Marriage is a big step." "I've never been more sure of anything," Julian said. "You're my future, Tasha. You and Brianna. People will still talk. They'll still say I'm with you for your money. Let them talk. I know the truth. You fell in love with me when you thought I was just some guy who lived upstairs. Money had nothing to do with it." He was right. Tasha had started falling for Julian before she knew about his wealth, back when he was just a lonely man who'd stayed with her daughter to keep her safe. "When should we do it? Get married?" Julian pulled her close. "How about 3 months? Small ceremony, just people we care about. Nothing fancy. What matters is becoming a family officially. 3 months sounds perfect." They planned the wedding together over the next few weeks. Nothing extravagant, despite Julian's wealth. A simple ceremony at the same lake house where he'd first told her he loved her. 50 guests, just family and close friends. Tasha's dress was red, her favorite color, simple but elegant. Brianna's flower girl dress was bright blue, making her look like a princess. Julian wore a gray suit, nothing too formal, just right for the casual outdoor setting. The ceremony was officiated by Patricia Green, the lawyer who'd helped them with Devon. She'd become a friend through that process and it felt right to have her there. When it came time for vows, Julian went first. "Tasha, you saved me when I didn't know I needed saving. You took a broken man and helped him find purpose again. I promise to love you and Brianna with everything I have. To support your dreams, to stand by you through hard times, and to never take for granted the gift of your love. You and Brianna are my family, my home, my everything." Tasha's voice shook as she spoke her vows. "Julian, you showed me that kindness still exists in the world. That good men are real. That love doesn't have to hurt. You gave my daughter and me not just security but hope. I promise to love you through joy and sorrow, to be your partner in all things, and to honor the memory of Sophia by helping you heal. You are my blessing, my miracle, my love." When Patricia pronounced them married, Julian kissed Tasha while everyone cheered. Brianna ran up to join them, and Julian lifted her up so they could have a group hug. The reception was held on the lawn by the lake. There was dancing, laughter, good food, and speeches. Rita cried through her toast about watching their love story unfold. Kevin made jokes about Julian finally finding someone who could organize his chaotic filing system and his chaotic heart. As the sun set over the water, turning everything golden, Tasha danced with her new husband while Brianna played with other kids nearby. This was her life now. This beautiful, impossible, perfect life. "What are you thinking?" Julian asked, holding her close as they swayed to the music. "That a year ago I was terrified when I found you on my couch. And now here we are, married with a daughter we both love. It's surreal. The best things in life usually are." 3 weeks after the wedding, the adoption was finalized. Julian was legally Brianna's father. They celebrated with a quiet dinner at home, just the 3 of them. "Can I call you Dad now instead of Daddy, Jules?" Brianna asked. Julian's eyes filled with tears. "I would love that more than anything." "Okay, Dad," Brianna said, testing out the word. Then she grinned. "It sounds right." "It is right," Julian said, pulling her into a hug. That night, after Brianna was asleep, Julian and Tasha sat in the living room of their new house. They'd moved out of both their apartments into a real home with a yard and enough space for everyone. Brianna's room was painted her favorite blue and filled with books and toys. There was an office for Tasha, a home gym for Julian, and a big kitchen where they cooked together. "Sometimes I still can't believe this is real," Tasha said, curled up against Julian on the couch. "It's real. We're real. And it's only going to get better." He was right. Over the following months they built a life together. Morning routines of getting Brianna ready for school, family dinners every night, weekend trips to the lake house, holidays spent together. Simple moments that meant everything. Tasha thrived in her new position at Hayes Corporation, managing community outreach programs and discovering she had a real talent for connecting with people. Julian continued running the company successfully, but now he left work at reasonable hours to be home with his family. Brianna flourished. She made honor roll at school, joined a soccer team, and took piano lessons. She was confident and happy, secure in the love of 2 parents who would do anything for her. One evening, almost a year after the wedding, Tasha was tucking Brianna into bed when her daughter said something that made her heart stop. "Mama, do you think I could have a little brother or sister someday?" Tasha's hand went instinctively to her stomach. She'd been feeling off for a few days, exhausted and queasy. She hadn't taken a test yet, too scared to hope. But now, maybe baby. Would you like that? Yeah. Then I could teach them things and read them stories like you do for me. After Brianna fell asleep, Tasha found Julian in his home office. Can you come with me for a minute? In their bathroom, Tasha pulled out a pregnancy test she'd bought but been too afraid to use. I need you here when I do this. Julian's eyes widened. Are you? I don't know. But maybe. They waited together, holding hands, barely breathing. When the timer went off, they looked together. 2 pink lines. Positive. Tasha burst into tears. Julian pulled her into his arms, crying too. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. They stood there in the bathroom, overwhelmed with joy and fear and hope. A year and a half ago, Tasha had been alone, struggling, barely surviving. Now she had a husband who loved her, a daughter who was thriving, and a new baby on the way. Are you happy? Julian asked. Happier than I ever thought possible. 9 months later, they welcomed a son. Samuel Julian Hayes came into the world healthy and perfect, with his father's brown eyes and his mother's smile. Brianna was the proudest big sister in the world, insisting on helping with everything. On Samuel's first night home from the hospital, the family gathered in the nursery. Julian held his son while Tasha and Brianna looked on. The room was painted a soft green, filled with stuffed animals and love. Sophia would have loved this, Julian said quietly, tears streaming down his face. She would have loved all of this. You, Brianna, Samuel. The family we've built. She's still part of this family, Tasha said softly. We won't forget her. Samuel will know about his sister, about how much she was loved. Julian looked at his wife, his daughter, his son. His family. Built from tragedy and loneliness, from a chance encounter in a hallway, from a dinner invitation given by a 5-year-old who saw kindness in a stranger. Thank you, he said to Tasha, for taking a chance on me, for letting me into your life, for giving me a reason to live again. Thank you for being the kind of man worth taking a chance on, Tasha replied. Brianna, who'd been quiet, suddenly spoke up. Are we gonna read Sammy stories like you read to me? Every night, Julian promised. Just like I read to you. Good. Because stories are important. They teach you about families and love and happy endings. Tasha smiled, thinking about their own story. It had started with fear and uncertainty, but every choice they'd made, every moment they'd chosen kindness and hope over fear and doubt, had led them here. To this perfect moment. This perfect family. This perfect life built on love. And as they stood together in that nursery, bathed in the soft glow of the nightlight, they knew that this was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, hard days and struggles. But they would face them together as a family. Because that's what families do. They hold each other up. They choose love over fear. They believe in happy endings. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very brave, those happy endings come true.